She stole my idea, then karma hit hard.
She stole my idea and built her career on it. But what she didn't know is that karma doesn't chase thieves. It waits for them at the top of the mountain they climbed with stolen hands. My name is Ethan Ward, and this is how I learned that silence is not weakness and revenge isn't always loud. This isn't fiction. This is karma. Real people, real consequences. You're watching Real Life Karma TV. 3 years ago, I worked at a small creative agency in Seattle called Nova Line Studios. We weren't a big name, but we had heart. Every project mattered. Every pitch felt like a fight for survival. I was the senior creative, the guy people called when a campaign needed to feel real. And I loved it. Late nights, coffee cups, scribbles all over glass walls. That was my world. There was Chloe, sharp, confident, magnetic. She joined as a strategist, but had ambition that didn't fit inside job titles. And then there was Lucas, our new creative director. Polished, charming, the kind of guy who could sell air if he had a deck for it. Together, we made a dangerous triangle. One who created, one who wanted credit, and one who knew how to use it.
It started like every great idea does, with a spark in the dark. I had been sketching a concept for a campaign called Heart of Motion. It wasn't just a tagline. It was an entire brand philosophy about connecting machines to the people who make them move. The idea came to me after seeing a factory worker wipe sweat from a control panel. The human touch behind the steel. The beauty of effort hidden inside the noise. I stayed late that night, writing, refining, cutting lines until they bled truth. By sunrise, I had something real. Something worth protecting. Next morning, I walked into the office, half awake, half proud, holding my sketch pad like a newborn. Chloe saw it first. She smiled that calculated smile. "What's that?" she asked. "Just something I'm playing with," I said. She leaned closer, scanning my notes. Her eyes lit up. "That's actually brilliant." I should have known those words were both compliment and warning. That afternoon, Lucas called a meeting. "We need new blood for the Apex Motors pitch," he said. "Something human, something real." Chloe raised her hand. "Ethan's been cooking up a concept. I think it's perfect." My chest tightened, both pride and caution. She slid my sketch pad across the table like it was hers to share. Lucas flipped through the pages, nodding slowly. This is fresh," he said. "Let's build it out. Chloe, work with Ethan. I want a presentation by Monday." And just like that, my idea was in their hands. The next few days blurred into chaos. Chloe wanted minor tweaks. Lucas wanted more emotion. Every revision stripped a little more of my voice away. By Friday night, the campaign that once beat with my heart sounded like something else entirely. Something empty. Something polished, but soulless. Still, I stayed late to finish the final deck, because that's what loyal people do. They finish the work, even when the work no longer loves them back. Monday came.
We presented to the Apex executives in a glass-walled conference room that felt colder than truth. Lucas spoke first, charming, confident. Then Chloe took over. She walked them through the emotional framework, every word I'd written, every metaphor I'd bled for. But not once did my name leave her lips. When she said my vision, something inside me cracked. Quietly, like glass under slow pressure. The clients loved it. Applause, laughter, contracts promised. Lucas smiled at me and said, "Teamwork, buddy." But I wasn't on that team anymore. I was just the ghost in their success story.
That night, I sat alone in the office, lights off, computer screen glowing like an interrogation lamp. My hands hovered over the keyboard, ready to send an email, ready to speak up, to demand what was mine. But then I saw Chloe's reflection in the glass wall, laughing in the hallway with Lucas. And suddenly, silence felt safer than starting a war I couldn't win. Because in corporate life, truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it sets you on fire. Days turned into weeks. Apex went viral. Novaline landed more clients than it could handle. Lucas got a promotion. Chloe got a feature in Creative Minds Weekly. And me? I got quieter, more invisible. A shadow, clapping for the people standing in my light. Lisa, my wife, noticed before I did. "You don't smile when you talk about work anymore," she said. I lied. "Just tired, that's all." But she looked at me like she'd already read the truth I refused to write. Then one night, everything broke. I came home late, soaked from the rain. Lisa was sitting at the kitchen table, phone in hand, her eyes red, tired, disappointed. She turned the screen toward me. An article headline: Novaline wins industry award for Heart of Motion campaign. Led by strategist Chloe Reed.
My name wasn't there. Not even in the credits. Lisa whispered, "So that's the project you've been losing sleep over?" I nodded. She stood up. "You used to create because you loved it, Ethan. Now you're just surviving it." She went to bed. And I sat there, alone with the echo of applause that wasn't mine. Funny thing about losing your voice, you start hearing everything else louder. The hum of guilt, the whisper of pride, the ticking of karma taking notes. And somewhere between that silence and the sound of my heartbeat, I decided this story wasn't over. Not yet. Not by a long shot. The weeks after that night felt like a blur of noise and silence, both too loud to live in. Novaline kept rising. The Heart of Motion campaign became a case study, then a conference topic, then a TEDx slide behind Chloe's smile. People in the industry started calling her the voice of human creativity. The irony was cruel enough to taste. I kept showing up. because quitting would have been too obvious and too easy for them to forget me completely. So I stayed, doing the small things no one credits, but everyone needs. The background noise that holds the melody together. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't break you all at once. It chips away slowly. A meeting skipped. An email unanswered. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes anymore. Lucas started looping Chloe into every pitch. Fresh perspective, he said. And I, the man who built the foundation, was now just another brick in her success story. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was tired, and tired men make dangerous kinds of silence. One evening, after another 12-hour day of fixing other people's creative problems, I came home to find Lisa waiting at the door. She had that quiet look that says more than shouting ever could. She handed me a folder. Inside, an envelope from the mortgage bank. Late payment notice. "We're falling behind," she said softly. "You said this campaign would change things." I didn't know how to tell her that it did, just not for us. So I said what cowards say when truth hurts too much. "I'll fix it." But how do you fix a world that rewards thieves with trophies? How do you build when the ground beneath you belongs to someone else's lie? I stopped sketching, stopped dreaming, stopped believing that ideas mattered. Because in that office, they didn't. Only who said it did. Lisa started spending more evenings at her sister's. Less laughter, more distance. The kind that doesn't come from miles, but from meaning. I didn't blame her. I was disappearing, right in front of her. Then, one Thursday morning, everything cracked. Lucas called me into his office. He was smiling, the kind of smile that usually hides a knife. "Ethan," he said, "we're restructuring. You've been an asset here, but we need fresh energy, new voices." I knew what fresh meant. It meant you're done. He slid a manila envelope across the desk. A severance package. 12 years, reduced to 12 weeks' pay. And to make it sting just right, he said, "Chloe will be taking over your role in the new department. She's earned it." Earned. That word. It landed like a slap from the universe itself. I didn't argue, didn't shout, didn't even stand right away. Because karma, it doesn't need witnesses. It keeps its own minutes.
That night, I drove without destination. Rain on the windshield blurred the lights, like the city itself didn't want me to see where I was going. At one point, I pulled over near the docks, just sat there. Engine humming, clock ticking louder than my thoughts. Lisa called. I didn't answer. Because what was I supposed to say? I lost my job again? Or worse, I lost myself long before they fired me. Sometimes the lowest point isn't when they take everything from you. It's when you realize you already gave it away. The next morning, I packed my things. Old notebooks, a photo of me and Lisa from better days, a coffee mug that said, "Create something that matters." I used to believe that. Now I wasn't sure if mattering was still part of the job description. When I left the building, I didn't look back. But I could feel it, like gravity behind me, the weight of stories I never got to tell. For a while, I drifted. Temp jobs, freelance gigs, small projects that barely paid but at least kept my hands moving. Sometimes, when I'd design something simple, a logo, a tagline, I'd whisper to myself, "This one's mine." Lisa eventually came around.
Not with fireworks, with silence. The kind that forgives without saying so. The kind that lets two people start again, quietly. We talked less about money, more about meaning. She said, "You were happiest when you were building, Ethan, not when you were chasing." And that line, that one line, hit me harder than any layoff ever could. Pause 2 seconds. That weekend, I went to the attic, dusted off my old sketchbooks, my notes, my dreams I'd folded away. And there it was. Heart of Motion. The one that started it all. The one they took. The one that refused to die. I opened it again. This time, it didn't hurt. It felt like a reunion, like meeting an old friend who forgave you before you even asked. I started sketching again, not for clients, not for applause, but because something inside me remembered how. Every stroke felt like stitching pieces of myself back together. Lisa brought me coffee, watched me work. Didn't say a word, just smiled. That kind of smile that says, "You're finally back." I didn't have much. Just an idea, a laptop, and the memory of being stolen from. But maybe that was enough.
Because loss can be fuel if you light it right. So I built again, from my garage this time. No glass walls, no politics, no Lucas, no Chloe. Just me and the sound of a second chance being hammered into shape. Months passed. Slowly, small businesses started calling. Word of mouth. One logo here, one rebrand there. People said I worked differently, that I listened, that I cared. Maybe because I knew what it felt like when no one did. And little by little, purpose found its way home again. Then one morning, a call came that changed everything. It was from Apex Motors, the same company that made my idea famous, the one that had been stolen. "Ethan," the voice said, "we're building a new campaign from the ground up. No agencies this time, just people who understand what honesty sounds like. Are you available?" I almost laughed, because sometimes karma doesn't knock, it calls, and it knows your name.
I said yes. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted to build something that could outlive it. And as I hung up, I realized the idea they stole was never really gone. It just waited for me to be ready to own it again. That night, Lisa found me working late. She leaned on the doorway, smiling. "Back to chasing again?" she teased. I looked up. Not chasing, building. She walked over, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Good, because karma loves builders." And that's how it began again. Not with applause, not with revenge, but with reconstruction. When you lose what's stolen, you build what's sacred. That's what karma was teaching me all along. It doesn't just take away. It clears the space, so you can finally create something real. The Apex project didn't crown me overnight. They gave me responsibility before they gave me recognition. We rebuilt everything from scratch. New visuals, new message, new truth.
I called it proof of care. Not a promise, but a pattern. 2 quarters later, the numbers began to move. Quietly, the way meaningful things do. Customer trust rose, complaints fell, clients returned. Apex's board called to thank us, not for creativity, but for clarity, for telling the truth, and then behaving like it. One morning, a message arrived that froze time for a second. From Nova Line Studios. Mr. Ward, it read. Would you attend a closed board session tomorrow? It concerns authorship procedures during your tenure. Karma had found my inbox. The next day, I walked into Nova's glass conference room. The same air, the same long table. Only my posture had changed. Across from me sat 3 board members, the HR director, and Chloe. Lucas's chair was empty. Some absences speak louder than words. They began with records, not regrets. Questions about who created what, where files lived, who renamed them. Chloe answered, quietly,
No confidence left in her tone, only truth trying to breathe again. When they asked if I had evidence, I said, I didn't come to prosecute the past. I came to protect the future. Silence. Then someone wrote that down, as if it mattered. A lawyer slid papers across the table. Internal logs, timestamps, notes marked align with leadership narrative. I hadn't brought receipts. The receipts had found me. The board didn't apologize. Companies rarely do. But they made something better. Policy. Words in motion. Verbs that meant something. Attribute. Verify. Retain. Audit. A line that would live longer than any of us. Authorship cannot be reassigned by role, only by record. After the session, Chloe stopped me by the door. Thank you, she said. For what? For not burning the house down. I thought that was the only kind of justice people understood. I shook my head. Justice doesn't need a fire, I said. It needs a ledger. She nodded, and for the first time, she looked lighter, like she'd finally put the stolen weight down. I didn't see Lucas that day, but I saw his echo. Leadership transition became departure. His profile vanished from the company page. Sometimes karma is just a name being quietly deleted from a website. No thunder, just correction.
3 weeks later, Apex launched our campaign. No spotlight, no fake applause. Just proof. Visible, measurable, human. People didn't share the ads. They shared their experiences. They kept their word. They called me back. They fixed it. That's the sound of integrity working overtime. And then another message. Lucas. Coffee? No agenda. Karma wasn't done writing its punchline. We met at a quiet cafe, 2 neighborhoods away from the past. He looked smaller without the team behind him. Charm is a choir instrument. It sounds thin when solo. I misread the room, he said. I replied, you rearranged the credits. He nodded, as if surrendering to the grammar of consequence. I thought results justified methods, he said. They don't, I answered. They expose them. He looked down. I guess you won. No, I said. I just stopped playing the wrong game. We shook hands, not as friends, but as men who finally understood the price of shortcuts. On my way out, I sent a short message to Chloe. Make good work. Make it yours. If they ask you to trade your name for a stage, leave the stage. She replied, understood. Ward Creative grew, not wide, but deep. Every project page carried a credit ledger for every hand that touched the work. Clients were surprised at first, then relieved, because truth, once seen, simplifies everything.
People asked if I forgave them. I said, forgiveness isn't the word I use. I call it alignment. I don't carry what isn't mine, and I don't keep what wasn't given. Then I keep walking. Karma didn't arrive like thunder. It came like bookkeeping. Steady, balanced, precise. Line by line, it put the right names back where they belonged. And when the ledger finally balanced, the noise stopped. If you ask what I learned, it's not that stealing gets punished, it's that stealing steals the thief long before the verdict. Every time you detach your name from your own hands, you forget how to hold anything without dropping it. That's not just karma, that's gravity. Chloe found work again. Smaller, quieter, truer. We collaborated once on a community project. Her slide deck had more footnotes than slides. That's how you know someone met their reckoning. They annotate the truth they once assumed. As for Lucas, I don't track him. Karma isn't my hobby.
Building rooms where names stay attached. That's enough worship for one lifetime. And that's where my story settles. I lost an idea, found a practice. Lost a title, found my name. And that name now hangs on the door where I walk in every morning without asking permission to tell the truth. This was a true story. Real people. Real consequences. You're watching Real Life Karma TV. If you've ever had your voice stolen, your work taken, your name erased, don't break. Don't beg. Just build. Because karma doesn't send a warning. But when it comes, it arrives right on time. Every story you hear here started with someone brave enough to tell the truth. What about you? Have you seen karma happen right in front of your eyes? Tell us your story in the comments or send it to reallifekarmatv@gmail.com.
Like this story if it hit you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, because your story might be the next one we tell.